Joining me today is Emmanuelle Lhoni, who's a journalist and weather presenter for BBC. Emmanuelle is thought to be the youngest Black female weather presenter in BBC history. Emmanuelle, a very warm welcome to you. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to sit down with us in your busy schedule.
Thank you for having me.
No, more than welcome. Great to have you here on the show. So I just want to start off by asking you, how old were you when you realised that you wanted to be a journalist?
Oh, I bet you're probably thinking I'm going to say like I was 7 or 12 or something, but I think it was a little bit later on. It's actually when I started applying for university courses that I thought maybe I should consider doing journalism, because I actually wanted to be an actress when I was a lot younger. Like, acting was what I wanted to get involved in. And I think the thing that kind of scared me about going into acting was because I was just worried that it's not going to be stable or anything like that, which in hindsight I look back and I think that's such a shame, because I'm still in love with it now and I should have just gone ahead and go with it. But either way, I'm still doing something that's incredible and that's fun. So I would say I was probably around 19 when I started, 18, 19, when I was in college applying for university courses. That's when I thought, I might as well go into journalism. But it's, in a way, it's quite funny because of the way it worked out, because I wanted to do English, but I didn't get the grade I needed to do English. And I had the grade I needed to do French at university. But because I speak French at home, I just thought, what's the point of doing a degree in something that it was my first language, and I speak it with relatives. So I thought, let me just do something different. And journalism, to be fair, is not that far off, because in a way, it's performance, it's information, it's communication, it's media, all of the stuff that in a way are related to acting, if you want. So yeah, that's kind of how I went into it, was when I started applying for university courses.
Okay, what was it when you were at college? Was it more A levels that you were doing, or was it?
Yes, so I did A level, I did French, English language and literature, which was a combined course, and drama and theatre studies.
Right, okay. And then from there on, obviously, led on to university. Well,
Yep.
what's stopping you from going into film? There's still, you're still very young, you've still got
Exactly. This
time.
literally, that's the way I see it. I always think that nothing is impossible. And I keep saying to my friends jokingly, just you be careful. One of these days, well, maybe in the future, I may just win an Oscar. There is still the opportunity for that. So yeah,
That's it.
I'm not saying that it's impossible, but it's something that I've loved for a very long time, and it's actually helped me in my journalism as well, especially when it comes to presenting and that kind of thing. So no, it's my little baby that I still hold daily.
Well, you're certainly working in the right corporation in order to get into the film industry. Of course, the BBC is, the place where everybody wants to work. But how was it for you? How difficult was it to get into, first of all, journalism, and then secondly, into an organisation like the BBC?
I would say that I've been very lucky, and I think everybody's journey is different. And I think the one thing that I think needs to be put out there is that there are so many different ways that you can get into an organization like the BBC. And one of the things that I've been so grateful about is that I've never felt like, no, you can't come here, or I since I was young, or since when I realized that I wanted to be a journalist, I've always wanted to work at the BBC. It just came to my mind. I thought, do you know what, the BBC is where I want to work, and it has never felt impossible. And I've applied for many things, and you don't always get the job or the role or whatever, but there has always been another way of getting into something. So I would say that I feel quite lucky, actually, that there has always been a way for me to get into the BBC. So I, first of all, did a 4-week placement at Rip Off Britain. This was like 2014. And then I went back to finish off my degrees. And in between my undergrad and postgrad, I was doing work experience at other organizations as well, just so you kind of get an understanding of, how different companies work. And it's always good to get a sense of different organizations and their system and all of that. And then when after that, I after I finished my master's degree, I applied for Future Voices, which is with the World Service in London, BBC World Service, and that was for training as a bilingual reporter. So just these little things, and I think, I mean, it's been what, 6 years now since I ever did something at the BBC. So I think sometimes people might feel a bit put off, like, oh, there isn't anything for me. You know, I didn't join and then like straight away went into weather presenting. You know, I've been doing so many little things here and there over the years, which I think is actually amazing, because it helps you grow, so that when a bigger opportunity comes, you're kind of a bit more. I feel like if this opportunity had been given to me 4 years ago, I probably would have been like, no, I don't want to do it now. Whereas now I'm just like, oh yeah, I want to do it. You know, what do I need to do? Teach me, that kind of thing. So yeah.
I can imagine when you were working at the World Service, your parents must have been so proud.
Oh my gosh, they were very, very, very proud. I think especially my dad, because my mum is a bit more, not reserved, but, you know, she'll be like, oh, I'm proud of you. But my dad was like, oh my gosh, amazing. So, and it's really funny, because for me, I never belittled it, because it was such an amazing opportunity. And when you look at the amount of people that applied for the scheme that I had applied for, you know, there were like 4,000, something like that. And only 6 people could do the scheme. So I for me, it was a big opportunity. But I think once you've been working so hard to get something, once you have it, it's like, oh, okay, now let's move on. You kind of forget. Sometimes you forget in the moment that, oh my gosh, you've just done something absolutely amazing. So for me, it was like, oh, I'm really happy to be here. But for my parents, it was like, yay. So yeah, they were very, very happy to answer your question.
4,000 people and 6 of you got through. Incredible. Well done. So there's quite a few stories, news stories that you've reported on.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any particular stories that stand out for you? Is there one in where you think, what was that? Or was it something that touched you in some certain way?
So in S1 story that I worked was, I had the opportunity to work on an investigation that was looking into skin whitening and kind of the effects of it, why so many, you know, why young people, in fact, because the 2 main contributors we had were 2 young girls, probably early 20s, and, you know, they'd walked into a store back when they were in secondary school and managed to buy products off the shelf, you know, for different reasons, you know, and we kind of just explored that to understand why they did it. And of course, they're not the only ones, you know, a lot of people do it. And for me, it's something that I'm really, really proud about, because it just took so much work. So we spent about 8 months or something working on it, and it was a really long process, but it was incredible because of the amount of detail that went into it. You know, we did so much research. We had to test some of the products. We did a lot of like visits around different shops and stuff like that. So it was, you know, and that was very early on in my career. I think that was because when I joined the BBC, as in on the trainee scheme in London, that was 2017. And that documentary came out the following summer, so 2018. So that was like the biggest major thing that I'd ever worked on. And I was really, really proud of it because of the topic. And it was something that I was familiar with, you know, having grown up in Congo and also here in Manchester, and being around, you know, those kind of conversations about, you know, preference for, you know, lighter skin color or lighter shade, that kind of thing. So I think to this day, I think that's one of the proudest things that I've worked on, just because of the process of it and just the topic as well.
And whilst you were going through the process of making that program, did you realize the effort and the work it took in order to make good quality programs? Did you kind of see, wow, okay, I can see the difference now between an organization like, say, the BBC and perhaps, say, something that you might have done in university? Could you see how much work was put into making that program?
Yeah, and the thing that was really interesting actually was I kind of had moments, many moments in fact, where I sat there and I thought, oh, hold on a minute. I was taught something like this at university. So everything that I was taught started to come back in a way. And you kind of think, oh, I'm proud. That means I went to a good university. You know, they gave me some of the foundations that, you know, I can now build on. But no, absolutely. You kind of, you see the amount of detail that goes into it. And of course, because of the standards that we're working towards as well, you know, for a company like the BBC, that's so respected, and rightly so, you know, worldwide, it really does, it teaches you a lot. And like I said, having done that so early on in my career, it was like, you know, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've had this opportunity to do something as amazing as this.
There's a report I saw that you did a few weeks back, because churches are not able to, people are not able to sing in churches. You went and reported on one particular church. What was that like?
So that was different. I didn't actually go into the services because, of course, at the time, churches were still conducting their services virtually. So a lot of them were doing stuff online, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Twitter. But it was just interesting, actually, just to speak to a community or a particular branch of a faith that you don't usually hear from. And I think the thing that was interesting was that, you know, coronavirus has affected everybody, you know, worldwide in so many different ways. But it was just interesting to find out how they had been affected, particularly because of the way that they worship, the way that they conduct their services, that they are, I guess, known for. So it was an interesting topic to kind of cover, and just to see what it meant for them, really, to have to change the way that they held their services.
What practical steps and advice can you give to someone who wants to get into your industry?
Oh gosh, I think there are so many things that you can do. I think you can start off by being proactive. So, you know, if you've got an iPhone, you can start filming stuff on your phone. You can edit on iMovie, which I don't think you even have to pay for because it comes on the phone. You can create a blog. You can write about what is interesting to you. You know, follow relatives around with the phone, ask them questions, practice interview skills. I think one of the things about journalism is that it's definitely a career that you can do from home, in the sense that if you want to get into it, you can already start doing things, you know, like I said, creating a blog, filming your own stuff, editing them as well, because those are the skills that you're going to need if, you know, when you end up going into a company. You know, you can start your own podcast. You know, there are so many things available online now for you to start doing stuff, you know, from the comfort of your bedroom. You know, something as easy as that. And then I would say, if you want to do a journalism degree, that's also a good way to go, because then, of course, they will teach you a lot of the stuff, you know, editing and filming and stuff like that. And I think more importantly, you'll also get the editorial side of things, so the law side of things, and what you can and can't report on, you know, as a journalist, especially when it comes to court cases and, you know, a bit more complex stuff like that. And I think there are some short courses that you can also do online as well, which will give you, you know, the qualification, or I can't think of the word, which is quite annoying, which basically gives you the understanding of, the understanding of, you know, practicing journalism ethically, basically. So those are just some of the things. So some of the things are a bit official, and then some other things that you can just do in your own spare time. But I think being proactive definitely makes you stand out, because I think it's one thing to say, I want to be a journalist, and it's another thing to say, I want to be a journalist, here's what I've already done. And it doesn't matter if, you know, your videos don't get, you know, 1 million views or whatever. If they do, that's amazing. But even if they don't, it's just the fact that you can say, here's what I've produced, look at the work that I've done. So I think in that sense, your work speaks for itself.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. What are your plans for the future?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think I want to just develop more skills, work on more, you know, interesting and more interesting stories, and continue to do original stories, tell more stories that will have an impact as well. maybe do a bit more investigation stuff, because I haven't done many of those since the skin whitening one. So I don't know. I think the best way to answer that would just be to continue to push myself and to develop more skills as a journalist and even as a weather presenter. That's one thing I've noticed, is that there are levels to everything. Once you start doing something, I don't like to think that that's it. I always think that there's more to whatever you're doing. There's a higher level to what you're doing. So if you can get to the higher level, then you should definitely go for it.
And how can people find out more about you?
So if you are, I'm guessing, I was about to say, if you are living in Manchester or the Northwest, you can always tune into BBC Northwest Tonight. So there's that, because sometimes I do present the weather on there, and sometimes I do news reports as well. That's on BBC One at 6:30 every day, every weekday. And also, of course, I'm on Twitter, Emmanuelle Lhoni, on Instagram, Emmanuelle Lhoni, LinkedIn, Emmanuelle Lhoni. I think that's it. YouTube, Emmanuelle Lhoni. So yeah.
And for anybody who's outside of Manchester, they can always go on iPlayer and get Northwest Tonight from there as well, can't they?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That brings us to the end of our interview. What a fantastic chat. What you've done is incredible, and I certainly believe that you've got so much more as well still to come. From 4,000 people, 6 that went through, and then for you to be here in the position that you are, it takes a lot of hard work. And yes, things do happen. You do get favor, but it's a lot of hard work, and you've worked hard to be where you are today. And I still think there's still so much more for you to come, for it to come for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and just to talk to us. And there'll be so many people who have listened to this and will just be encouraged and feel that, yes, they too can achieve what you've achieved, and they too can see the way of getting into that industry. So thank you so much for that, and we wish you all the very best for everything that you continue to do in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I always feel like giving a shout out, but thank you to, I've met some amazing, incredible people, before I joined the BBC, and even when I got here, people who have given me feedback, have encouraged me to apply for stuff that I didn't think I was qualified for, people who have pushed me. So many people have really kind of contributed to the Emmanuelle Lhoni that you see. But no, thank you for having me.